Okay, thank you very much, and thank you everyone who's come to listen today. Today I'd like to offer kind of a collection of thoughts and tips from my experience, not really rocket science, but just trying to suggest a workable procedure for making handouts in the classroom. Workable in two senses: workable in the sense that there aren't any problems, and also workable in the sense that they do as much as possible to promote learning in the classroom. So. Okay, when we decide to make a handout, we start with a blank piece of paper, which can be a little bit intimidating, but it has a lot of potential as well. Okay, so I'd like to suggest that there are 5 stages that we can use, 5 questions that we can ask ourselves in order to make the most of this blank piece of paper. And perhaps importantly, the first one is, do I actually need this piece of paper? Especially in light of maybe materials like methodology, am I just giving out this piece of paper for the sake of it, or does it actually contribute something to the learning that's happening in the classroom? Of course, obviously, there's the environmental concern as well. So some alternatives that you could use to the handout are the whiteboard, okay, interactive or otherwise. Dictation, which, oops, what have I done? There it is. Dictation, which again is much more student-centered than giving out a piece of paper, involves a lot more skills a lot of the time. The course book, very often people just kind of retype, reorganize what's in the course book, when in reality sometimes it might be okay as it is. And then finally, the students themselves, rather than you thinking of interesting questions or subjects, a lot of the time, if the students are able to come up with those ideas themselves, then it will be maybe more memorable for them. Okay, so once we've decided that we do need this piece of paper and it is going to contribute something to what my students what our students are doing in class, the next question to ask ourselves is, what form should it take? Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the quiz Only Connect, but I have removed the vowels from some familiar forms of classroom handouts. I'd like you to have a look at these words and see if you can put the vowels back in the correct places. So type in the chat box. Yes, it is the best quiz on TV. Type in the chat box if you know what any of these might be. Okay, comprehension is the first one. If you can get the last one, you deserve a medal. Jenny, don't give away all the answers. Any ideas for the last one? Oh, we're nearly there, nearly there. Okay, fantastic. So these are the ideas, but obviously there are many more. I'd like to focus on the last 2, which are maybe a bit less traditional when it comes to worksheets, and we'll get to gatefold in a little while. Okay, yeah, fridges in the classroom, why not? Okay, one of the advantages of organising your worksheet into a board game, in particular with young learners, is that it makes the language more meaningful and it gives students a reason to complete whatever activities it is that you want them to be doing. Something like this, which I did with my kids' class who were doing conditional sentences, is really easy to make using the Smart Art function on Microsoft Word. And it can also be an opportunity to do something in a little more of a staged and structured way. So rather than just playing the game, before you play it, you can get the students to look at the different activity types. So for example, first looking at the green boxes and trying to complete the sentences, doing the same with the others. Sorry, I'm trying to follow the chat box at the same time. And yeah, getting them to prepare the sentences, prepare the tasks before they then go on to actually play the game. The advantage of this really is that it provides support for students who are maybe a little bit weaker, and it also gives students thinking time. So while they're constructing the question, in their mind they're probably also going over their answers to the questions as well. Of course, things like this are very often in the teacher's resource book or associated material, so it's not always necessary to reinvent the wheel. You can adapt the materials that are in the back of the book instead. Okay, so let's go on to gatefold. So this is hopefully a form of worksheet which makes language, sets language in an extremely clear context. So for example, when doing clothes vocabulary, you might decide to put all of your vocabulary in the wardrobe, food in the fridge, and objects in a house you can put in a house. And then when you open it up, you have, with this case, we did a drawing dictation. So, you know, I said to draw a pink pair of trousers, and the students drew them where they wanted them in their wardrobe. And after we'd done that, the students were able to complete the words on the wardrobe doors. It's a little bit difficult to see from my scan, but can anyone maybe guess what the difference is between the door on the right and the door on the left? Okay, just so I don't run out of time, I'll tell you. But yeah, I decided on one door there are the single objects, so our t-shirt, our skirt, our jacket, and then on the right, absolutely Jenny, well done. On the right there are the plurals, so you can get students to play grammar detectives, see if they can come up with the rules themselves. Okay, yeah, but my students responded really well to it, and it's just a different way of presenting language in a clearer context. Okay, so after you've decided on the form for your worksheet, the next thing I think is to consider how to make the most of your piece of paper, rather than wasting it, using it once, doing a quick exercise. Okay, so here are 3 examples. Any suggestions how this might be making the most of a worksheet? Grammar detectives, Anya is trying to get kids to work out the rules, for example, between singular and plural, or countable or uncountable, rather than just telling them. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, any suggestions? Okay, so in this case, I have personalised an activity for a teen first certificate class. Nina was one of the students in my class. I knew she was going to New York for the summer, so when we did the transformations at the end of the year, then I was able to use the names of the students, my knowledge of their characters, what they like, what they don't like, in order to set language in a clear context and make the handout memorable. Okay, next one. Crosswords. Crosswords obviously have a clear purpose for revising vocabulary, but very often we can just do them and then move on, whereas in reality there are so many more things that you can do with this. I think it's Luke Meddings who came up with the idea of doing things 3 times. With crosswords you can complete it, you can test each other, you can test yourself, you can make sentences using the words in the crossword, and task repetition is really valuable for students of all ages. Also, coming back to one of the talks that was done earlier, it means that students can work at their own pace. Yeah, I'm not sure, Anthony, on the Luke Meddings thing, but if you Google 3 times, I'm sure you'll come up with something. Okay, the last one. Okay, another example of making the most of a piece of paper is doing a little bit of origami. This is something that Jenny at IH Palermo taught me. If you can fold your piece of paper so students have to have the opportunity to open it up and check their work or move on to another stage, then it means that it's working a little bit more. Students are able to notice what they've got wrong without it being in a too open, intimidating sphere. And they've also got a perfect record of the correct language. And obviously in this case they can then go on to answer the questions themselves. Okay, I'm running out of time and I'm due in class in 30 seconds. So here's a quick review of that. Okay, one last thing, if you do want another challenge, the delightful XDOS of IH Palermo, Johnny Ingham, suggested getting students to do things without actually writing, so that when they go through the answers they have to recall everything, and then eventually when they're happy with their answers they can write them themselves. Okay, so I don't know if anyone recognises the song. This is a clip from Pulp's Common People, but have a look at this. This is one of the first handouts that I gave students, and you might be able to see the obvious mistake. I did not change the order of the missing words. So, a few tips from my experience. Let me skip through this very quickly. Okay, so just have a look through this. You know, even after all this time, we all make mistakes, unintentional mistakes, but if you go through these things, think about the layout, the appearance, the font, use your delightful IH branding, then the worksheets look so much more professional and students respond to them much better. The last point, extremely important, don't spend an hour making a worksheet and then leave it on your desk. Okay. Finally, my very last point. Okay, sometimes you have to go back to the drawing board, but if it works, it's so helpful to file it for yourselves, for other teachers, in whatever form you want to. Alternatively, if it doesn't, plan for your IH online seminar on the back of it, and then throw it in the bin. Okay, thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry the answer was very, very rushed, and I'm sorry, Sean, but I have 11 minutes and 50 seconds.
We can make it a little bit easier. But I do like the fact you have to go to class, because it kind of makes a natural deadline for you to run off with. So if you've got any questions for her, it's tough luck, because she's not going to be around to answer them. You can download her slides and of course see the recording from the blog when we get there. Oh, sorry, when I get it up there. Right, who's next? Lisa, by the way, I've just made you host, so you can get ready for the next hour.